And this is Real Estate Underground.
Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. This is Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is a really interesting conversation with a gentleman by the name of Bud Evans. Bud, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ed. Thank you very much for having me.
So Bud, you have an interesting background and kind of a circuitous way, a path to how you got to where you are today, which is really, really impressive. And I'm going to make you tell all the stories you just told me offline. But for those folks out there that aren't necessarily familiar with you, why don't you just tell them about your background and who you are and how you got here?
Sure thing, Ed. Thank you. So I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania originally. After high school, I went into the United States military. That was 1987. I did that for several years, became a police officer in 1993, did that for 13. They hit the towers. I went back in after being deployed a few times, and I finished my service with over 34 years. Wow. I am the former mayor of Cinnaminson, New Jersey. I'm a real estate investor and a licensed agent. I have primarily properties in New Jersey and Pittsburgh. I have single family homes and commercial multifamily properties as well. I was a real estate investment coach for about 2 years for Tariq El Moussa from HGTV, where I specialized in the BRRRR method, commercial multifamily analysis, property management, and velocity and infinite banking methods. I've underwritten about a little bit more than 100 million in deals at this point, and I've created a personal real estate portfolio of several $1 million myself. I'm the president of Aim High Properties. We own 8 subordinate properties, ranging from single family properties through property management and out to hair salons.
Wow, really? All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cash cows, right?
Yeah, right. Well, my wife is a hairstylist, so it just seemed like a natural fit.
Well played, sir.
Exactly.
Well played. Well, thank you for joining us. And so, one of the things that's interesting about your background is, a lot of investors that I invest or that I speak with on this show, they're typically focused on one asset class. But, one of the things that I learned as I was stalking you on social media was that, you tend to be more deal driven than necessarily asset driven. So, I'm curious, first and foremost, what drew you to real estate, given your career of service? And thank you again for serving both your community and your country. So we're all grateful for that.
Thank you.
In terms of real estate, how did you pick real estate as a place to kind of be your next act after you left service?
There's a really funny story behind that. So
okay.
I transitioned positions from it was a Air Forces subordination, just strategic planning type of position. And when I transitioned from that into an RPA unit, RPA is remotely piloted aircraft, or as you guys call them, drones. I made that transition from one to another. And when I did, I found myself in Cinnaminson, New Jersey, which is where I currently reside. My goal has always been to make a place better than when I got there. So I saw some value add that I could provide within Cinnaminson Township Committee. So I decided to run for local office. I had no idea that I wasn't allowed to do that. I even went to the JAG and asked them, hey, am I allowed to run for local office? And they said, sure. And I said, great. Can you sign this letter saying that I'm allowed to run for local office? I had 2 JAGs and my commander all signed off, and I ran for committee. And the next thing I knew, I was the mayor. Fast forward 1.5 years, and they come back and they go, hey, yeah, you were never allowed to run for mayor. Well, so I wound up resigning on a Friday and making it official on a Monday in July of 2018. So I was on committee for about 1.5 years, and I did some good things. I was very happy with my progress. But the one thing that I really enjoyed while I was the mayor was economic development and basically building and planning and zoning, right? So what I found was that we put up a Lidl store. We redid a supermarket into a storage facility. We had an over 55 community raise, 7 buildings at one time, opened up a couple of pad sites. We balanced the budget so well that for the 5 years after I left, we didn't raise property taxes in Cinnaminson.
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey, right. So I was very
Property.
happy with
Wow.
how we did there. And oh, by the way, the guys that followed me into those positions are outstanding people. And they just continued to do the job that I had already started. And I took over for some fine people as well. Well, that economic development process and all of that building stuff, all of that real estate stuff, I saw the value that I could get from that.
Yeah.
And when they made me resign, I was like, well, there's 40 to 50 hours of my life back. Why don't I get into real estate? So guess what? I started. I jumped in with both feet, and then so that's how I got started in real estate. And there's a story behind that, and the progress from that point on.
Okay, so I'm going to make you tell that story in a second. So, in terms of asset classes, when you look at a single family home or a multifamily, a commercial multifamily, or even a hair salon for that matter,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are you looking for? What kind of piques your interest as an investor?
Yeah, two things: cash flow and appreciation. Right.
Which one's more important to you?
Cash flow.
Okay.
Cash flow. I will tell you that I hold them in equal value, but I won't take a property that's only going to appreciate if I'm not getting some sort of cash flow from it. I'll tell you that right now, if I can find an asset where Bud's Big Six is covered, that's roof, windows, foundation, plumbing, electric, and HVAC. If all six of those things are in good repair, I'll pick up a property if it's cash flowing $100, knowing that in 3 or 4 years, rents will raise somewhere between 5 and 10% per year, 25% increase over 5 years. And I know that I'm cash flowing at that point quite well, as long as that property is going to appreciate somewhere between 8 and 12%.
8 and 12% over that 5-year span or per year?
Yeah, no, we're looking pretty much like over 5% is considered outstanding. Usually if I'm looking at those properties that are only going to cash flow about $100 per year to start, then we're looking at better than 5. It's most likely, well, in Pittsburgh, in the area that I'm currently investing in, we're hitting that 8 to 12 mark every year.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
And is that something, since 2018, 19, 20, 21 were blockbuster years, right? And 18 was starting to be a great year. Yeah, I'm curious what you're seeing in terms of appreciation these days, as we're kind of looming over the recession is potentially looming over our world.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, we're still looking at double-digit returns. Appreciation is going to flatten. We're still going to be looking at that, 3 to 5%, hopefully, in that area. In South Jersey, not North Jersey. North Jersey's, I think they're going to level off and start to peter out a little bit because of Manhattan.
Right.
But the overall, I see the returns still in South Jersey going, and they might level off a little bit in the fact that they'll probably only appreciate at 2 to 5%. And I say that simply for this reason. I'm licensed in New Jersey. I still see, 3 to 7 days on the market on an average sale. I just had a flip that went in a negative 27 days. Negative 18 days. So I'm allowed to list the property as coming soon for 21 days in New Jersey. And on day one, I had a realtor reach out to me and ask me flat out, hey, if I give you a contract, can I tour that home before you put it on the market? And I said, what are you looking for? And they said, 10,000 over ask. I said, see you tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I had a similar experience. It was about a year and a half ago, but we bought this house out of foreclosure, and this was when I was flipping, and bought it for $418,000. Put about 130 into it. It was a gigantic house. It was like 4,800 square feet, and go to put it on the market at I think $799, and no, $759 as a matter of fact. And same thing happened. Somebody came up, we did a coming soon, and somebody came up and said, what'll it take to not put this on the market? And I gave them a crazy number, and they went done. And and the rest is history. So it's it was crazy. I'm we stopped flipping not because of the market. It was just a matter of focus for us. I saw multifamily as the company's future. So there's only a finite amount of time that we're blessed with. So I chose to use it to just do multi. And I have a profound case of entrepreneurial ADD, the shiny object syndrome in the periphery. So, I have to actively keep myself from doing that. And so stopping flipping was one of those things. So, all right. So now I'm going to make you tell that second story.
Yeah. So crazy enough. So here I did, I got out of, and I was like, all right, I got to find a mentor. So there was a guy that I knew who he was literally he was making $10,000 on 3 buildings. That was it. So I asked him, hey, will you mentor me? And he gave me some advice and, nothing in depth, no documents. Hey, research something this way or that way. It was just, hey, go to these 2 websites and just make offers on just about everything. And it was, and I'm just going to put them out there, Hubzu and auction.com.
Oh yeah.
Right. So here I am putting in offer after offer after offer, auction after auction after auction. I bought stuff on eBay before. I can do this. Right. So from literally August through September, 2 full months. So right after I left in mid-July, so right before August started, up through September 25th, I was putting in, just going to auction after auction after auction, putting down like a 3,000 hold on this one, a 3,000 hold on that one, a 3,000 hold on that one. Never met a reserve, had over 130 wins with no buildings to show for it.
Right.
It was bad. So then I was working overnight. We did a 24/7, 365 mission. And here I was at 2:00 in the morning, and I looked up on television and I saw this ad, 2:00 in the morning, text this number to this for this. And, real estate will be in your area on this date. And it's a very large organization. So I wrote the number on my palm, no phones in where I worked. I worked in a windowless room. Right. So I wrote it down on my hand. I walked outside. I said, I'll be right back. I walked outside. I texted the number. And the next thing I knew, I was in a 2-hour course. And I brought my son. And I said, hey, whatever happens, do not let me buy anything before I leave this room.
Here's my wallet. Do not give it back to me. Right.
An hour and 30 minutes later, my son, he's 31 now. It's, only 4 years ago. So he was 27 at the time, 26, 27. He taps me on the shoulder. He goes, yo, you're doing this, right? I'm like, there goes my anchor, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing I knew, I'm jumping into this mentorship program, and that happened at the end of September of 2018. But October of 2018, I went through 3 days of what they call a full immersion course, where they go through how to source a deal, what a rehab looks like. You hop on a bus, you go check out some flips, and then you jump back in, and they go through the finished stuff, and then you're gone. And the next day I closed my first house.
Wow.
Yep. Then January, we started that flip. By the end of January, I had 2 more rentals behind it. At the end of year number 2, I had 10 wholesales, 30 flips, and 21 rental properties. At the end of year 4, we doubled it. I went up picking up 30 doors last year in 2022, which was not a great year for me, but still.
But it's interesting you say that, because Jersey, I'm in Connecticut, and it's there's similar markets, not a lot of inventory out there. So yeah, so and I know from a realtor perspective, the MLS used to be a target rich environment. I had very close relationships with all the Rio agents in the area, and those have since dried up. So how are you driving deal flow?
I'll tell you, and this is what I tell my students, I can get you to 7 digits if you just source wholesalers and agents and have them bring you off market deals. That's it. And if you really want to go and you want to make, 8 digits, then you need to start doing your own marketing. Right. And we take them through 3 levels of marketing, and what's good for the neighborhood, what's good for the zip code, what's good for the county, and we go that way with it. But with little to no money out of pocket, you can just start making phone calls and get on a bunch of lists and check out Facebook Marketplace and check out Craigslist and, start reaching out to people and have deals come across your desk and learn how to source them very rapidly and make offers before anybody else.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, so how many, just out of curiosity, how many doors do you have today?
50.
In 5 years?
4. Yeah. But yeah, January of 2023 was exactly 4 years that we started from our first flip till now.
Wow. If you're going to, as I used the term earlier, but if you're going to be a bear, might as well be a grizzly, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats. So in where are you taking the business next? I mean, what's the next hill to take?
So a couple of different things. First and foremost, we've scaled back a lot. We were doing direct to seller, and now there's really no reason. I know that there is a scarcity in the market, but for some reason, I don't know why, I still get 6 deals that cross my desk every day from quality wholesalers. I'm still getting 3 or 4 phone calls from an agent who's got a pocket listing, and I'm, providing them to my clients, my students, my network, getting maybe a little taste of the fees that they're getting, cherry picking the ones that I want, keeping those. Yeah, and then giving back by teaching others how to do what I did.
Yeah, and one of the things that drives you, I know, and it also drives me is, it's a big world out there, right? If somebody else gets theirs, it's okay,
Yeah.
right? You can celebrate that. You don't have to worry about saying, "Man, I should have done this or I should have done that to get that deal." Somebody once said, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki said, the deal of the century comes by just about once a month, and right.
Yeah.
So, it's a tremendous feeling to not only win yourself, but help other people win as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Ed, I fully believe in collaboration over competition.
Me too. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. So it's funny, but my friend Yasser, we call him the property captain because he's an actual Delta Airlines pilot, right? So he's a captain. And he is in the next county over. So I work Mercer, Burlington, and Camden County, part of Camden County, not Camden City, by the way, in case anybody's listening from the area, because it's the death capital of the world. Those 3 counties, and he works literally Camden and Gloucester County down in South, like a little bit farther south from me. And we are sourcing deals. And as we're doing that, I'm picking up the phone and going, "Yo, Yasser, did you see this one? I think this one is right up your alley." Or he'll pick up the phone and call me and go, "Hey, dude, Roland just called me and he's got this 6 unit. And I know you're making that transition to multifamily. Do you want this?" And it works out very well.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, I've got a group of folks that we work with. Actually, one of the guy who actually organized it, Dave DeVito, calls it the Fab Five, and same thing, right? It's we're looking at apartment buildings, but we're all, I'm focused in Connecticut and Kentucky and Carolinas, and one of my other colleagues, Chris Morin, he's focused on Indiana, and Margaret Kozlowski, she's raising money for build to rent communities, so it's a really good fit of, and Brendan Chisholm is down in South Carolina. So, and Dave is kind of the facilitator, and he's a heavy hitter broker here in Connecticut. So, it's just a good fit. So we all get together and we, I'll pick up the phone. "Hey man, did you see that 57 unit in wherever?" That, a guy from Marcus Millichap, throws my way, and it's great to have that collaboration because, I'm very careful about confirmation bias. So the other value add of that is, "Hey, I'm seeing this. Are you seeing the same thing?" And, shoot holes in it. I'm, no pride or authorship. I want to know what you think. And that's really valuable in all respects.
Yeah. I just threw together a blog on how to double your property inventory in, a short period of time. And it basically comes down to working with others, how to, and leveraging other people and helping them, or having them put their money to work in your deals so that you can both prosper.
Yeah. So what kind of structures are you using when you're working with, other investors? Joint ventures, syndication? Like, how does that work for you?
So I am a limited partner in a couple of deals. I don't include them in my personal portfolio, but they are. But the 50 doors that I have are either individually owned by me, or they are partnerships, or JVs.
Right.
So, and that's so we have 4 companies, 2 partnerships, and 1 joint venture.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. And so, when you're engaging with a partner, one of the things I'm always interested in is how people find their partners, right? And, I liken it to dating and getting married, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to date first, right? I want to at least know, that you and I are compatible. So, what's the process you go through to vet or to figure out if a partner's a good fit for what you're looking to do?
Yeah, it's funny. I just referred to my operating agreement as a prenup.
Really? That's
on my
funny. That is.
podcast. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty good when you're using the exact same analogy I just literally used about an hour ago.
I may borrow that. That's great.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. So what we were talking about was when you're getting into these joint ventures, these partnerships, and you're throwing these LLCs together and you're using your operating agreement should not just specify, hey, this is the best possible case scenario. This is what's going to happen, right? It should be, hey, in the case of the best case scenario, we do this, and we hold it for 30 years or whatever the case may be. We hold it for 5 years, we sell it and, split the profits evenly or however you're going to deal with it. But it should also spell, hey, if we lose our shirts on this deal, we just shake hands and go off in our own separate ways, capital call, be damned, and we go, right? Whatever the case, however you want to structure that thing. It's here are my 4 points to a good deal, right? Or a good partnership, right? When you spell it out, the contract should basically three things. So 3 things. First, both the numbers got to work,
right?
Both parties have to agree to it, and it's got to be legal, right?
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
Right. Figure it out. Whatever you want this to say. If you want this to say, sure. In 4 years, partner A is going to get 10%, partner B is going to get 2%. You're going to split the proceeds in that percentage, and then you're going to walk out the door. Great, no problem. Do the numbers work for him? Do the numbers work for me? Great. Is there a contract? Yes, we do that, absolutely. Right. Are we both going to sign it? Absolutely. Terrific. No problem. Deal's done.
Let's go. Right on.
That's it.
So tell me about your team. When you are running your 50 doors, do you have your property management in-house or do you outsource it?
Yeah, we're vertically integrating right now, and it's painful. Yeah. It is absolutely painful.
Did that last year, and I'm 3 inches shorter from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. We finally found the system that we want to use, the structure that we want to use. We've got the back office software set up, and the phone lines are ready to go, and all of the ACH payment software and all that kind of stuff. And we're ready to go with it. And now we're in the process of downloading the Excel spreadsheet from the former property manager and then uploading it into ours. And we've got less than 3 weeks to do it. So, and then we just had to bring somebody in who is a specialist in this particular program that we're using. Now, granted, look, it's virtual, and it's literally 1 day a week. So it's not really that expensive. It's actually quite cost effective to use a virtual assistant who's a part-time employee, whether it's if they're making $25 an hour and they're working 4 hours on a Friday and your books are straight.
Yep.
Bring it on.
Absolutely. Yeah. We do the exact same thing. We have a team of virtual assistants that do everything from property management, interacting with our residents, to investor relations, to social media, websites, search engine optimization. Mm-hmm. I've got somebody that helps with helping me brainstorm and create content. We've got an acquisitions person, transaction coordinator, and they're all living 8,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. Every single one of them is.
My transactions coordinator is in Kansas City. It was a very tense day in January when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I know, that was painful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not talk to Amber for a week.
Yeah. It's okay. You get time heals. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. But, in fairness, you guys are stacked. And now you've got your quarterback of the future. So Jalen Hurts, that kid is a class act. And he's a heck of a football player.
Yeah, don't tell anybody, Ed, but I went to Penn State. I got my master's from there. I'm a Penn State football fan, but I'm also an Oklahoma Sooners fan.
Right?
Yeah. I've been following them since Sam Bradford when they won the national championship. I've got a friend of mine who lives in OKC.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay to have double allegiance. It's fine.
I know they'll never meet because Oklahoma's not good enough to make it to the NCAA playoffs anyway. So.
Ouch. Yeah.
Actually, this year they might. It's top 12 now, right?
So they look good.
We'll see.
So let me ask you something. In terms of, you're obviously a mentor. You have a mentoring program, and you help a whole bunch of people kind of get to where they want to go. I'm curious about your mentors over the years.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one of them, but I'm curious about the advice that they've given you. What is the best advice you ever got from someone in your life, and who was that person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got to ponder that for a couple of seconds. Honestly, I've had some really great ones
Yeah,
and I've had some not really great ones,
true
So I've
statement.
seen the entire spectrum. The best leader I've ever worked with was Lieutenant Colonel Mark Waller. So when it comes down to leadership, it was provide the strategic vision and let your guys do it,
Yeah,
and they'll surprise you. Take care of your people and the people will take care of the mission
right,
was what he said. Him. So Lieutenant Colonel Waller and now General Chip Eisler, same basic leadership philosophy. I'm going to hold you accountable, but this is what I need. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Go figure it out. Right.
right.
These are the requirements. These are the key performance indicators. So that's how I ran my program. The within real estate, um, Laura Fine out of Pittsburgh, was really kind of the first person, the first mentor that I had in real estate, who was like, what are you worried about? You got this.
Right.
You know what? And now I've kind of taken that approach. I've actually got a YouTube short out where the entire conversation is, okay, make the offer. Okay, make the offer. And
That's all you
that
said.
summed up
Yeah.
our entire conversation. The entirety of our conversation for one of my students' first short-term rentals by a lake out in Minnesota was great. Okay, did you do the work? Great, make the offer. Yeah, but he said, "Yep, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Did you do the work? Yes, then make the offer." She got the house. She just finished it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it was absolutely awesome.
So I have my story is that in 2008 I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it fundamentally changed my life
Yeah,
3 years later, because it took me 3 years to get over the fear and of uncertainty and pulling that trigger. And I had a short version of a very long story. Amy Rio, who's a realtor here, a broker now in Central Connecticut, and when I knew her, she had 4 or 5 agents, and now she's gigantic. But so she, bless her heart, she took me to no less than 20 properties, and I always found a reason not to want it, right? And it was,
yeah,
at that point, it was 2010 into 11, and on the 21st house, right, it was a 4-family on Clark Street, hence the name.
yeah,
Um, she was a 4-family. It was for $99,000. It was a deal and a half, and it was in really good shape. It was somebody had acquired it and was trying to update it and flip it, and ran out of money for whatever reason. And so I was scooping it up, and I came out like, well, and she took a pen and clicked it and put a contract down on the hood of my car. And she said, sign the effing contract or never call me again. And, I'm 6'4". I'm a legitimate foot taller than her. Right. And she scared the living daylights out of me. And I very quietly took the pen and scrolled my name on it. And, I still own that property today. So thank you, Amy, wherever you are. But yeah, I mean, great. Make the offer
yeah,
was really hard for me. And so I'm glad I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone, because it's a lot of responsibility. I tell people, my hand shakes on every contract, because
yeah,
if you aren't going into this into each property a little bit nervous, you don't understand the magnitude of the responsibility you're taking on, right? So pay attention to that. But you put the business systems in place, you put the team in place, and you manage it, right?
yeah.
So yeah,
Trust the process.
exactly right.
Yeah, I tell a story when I'm on stage, speaking.
Yeah,
2013, I was in Afghanistan. We were getting rocketed, mortared, shot at, constantly. I wound up losing 4 guys in a plane crash. It was absolute insanity. I came home that August. Fast forward years later, I signed that first contract. I was shaking more signing that contract than I ever was under attack.
yeah,
Right. And it's
right,
just for whatever reason, I was confident in my capabilities in combat, but for whatever reason, I
Fight or
was
flight
scared to
kicked
death
in.
here, man.
Yeah, I hear you. It's that's amazing it reminds me of a commercial that this guy was interviewing obviously a veteran, and there's flashing back to him, in service in a combat situation, and the guy behind the desk fast forward to the present, and the guy behind the desk says, "Can you handle stress?" And the kid looked at him and went, "Yeah, I can handle
I think
stress."
I can handle. Yeah,
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Wow, it's amazing what'll freak out that caveman brain of ours, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm curious, leaders tend to be readers, and you obviously you've accomplished a lot in a really short period of time, and I imagine that not only do you have mentors, but you probably also take in a lot of information over the course of a day or a week. So it used to be that tactile books were where I used to have a stack of these on my nightstand, and now I just have an iPhone or an iPad full of
yeah.
books. So I'm curious, how do you take in information, whether it's podcasts or videos or whatever, and also who are you paying attention to these days?
Yeah, all of the above. So I have a process on whether or not I'm going to actually read a book, and feel free to steal it. So I use a program called Blinkist.
Me
It's
too.
Blinkist.com.
Yeah.
And I'll download essentially the equivalent of a quick notes, and I'll either page through it over breakfast, or I'll listen to it while I'm, in the gym or something of that nature. If I like it, I'll get the audiobook. If I like the audiobook, I'll get the paperback. And so truth be told, my wife thought I was absolutely insane one year. I had just read Snowball about Warren Buffett,
Yep. Yep.
and in there they talked about him reading like 52 books a year.
Yeah.
And I had a hold my beer moment. So I read 86.
Really? So
I read it. It was a full-time job.
Oh, I'll bet. I do the same thing every year. Last year, I was like, I'm reading 52 books this year. I think I got to about 38.
Yeah.
And this year, I'm actually on track. But yeah, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that is outside of college basketball season, and now the NBA playoffs, and football season's right around the corner, and I'm notorious for watching a game and having a laptop, and I'm hunting properties. But then I have to carve out, the hour or two a day that I need to be able to continue to read and stay on track. Although I have a cheat code, and that is, so I listen to Blinkist as well. And I tend to do it. I listen rather than, I'm more of a visual, learner than a reader. And so, I'll listen to Blinkist, and I also belong to Audible. I have a membership, so I'll listen to it in Blinkist and then go, okay, this author really knows what they're talking about, and I'll go cash a credit in and get the audiobook, and then I listen to it at anywhere from 1.5 to 2.0 speed, and that's how I can cram in so many books in a week. I can cram, get that one book done that should take me 8 hours to read. Really only takes me about 5. And yeah, it's amazing your brain can catch up. So that's how I shortcut the whole process of reading.
Yeah, it pays. It really does.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it gives me, it gives people perspective, right? Because you're basically an author, Snowball, right? Or Atomic Habits, James Clear's book, which I read about 6 months ago. Fantastic book. Any of the books, right? You're cramming in about 10 years of that author's life into 245 pages. And, if you can consume that information in, a week or a matter of a couple of weeks, you just got 10 years smarter from that person in that particular topic. So, I don't know why you wouldn't read and take in information, because it keeps, I can't tell you how many times it's kept me from doing dumb stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Or learning how to fix the dumb stuff I had already done.
Yeah. Perfect. And I'm going to make a recommendation, because so I'm on this big mindset kick right now. Not that I'm not always on a big mindset kick right now, because my whole life has been about the appropriate mindset. But
right on.
So I've just read for the 4th time Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Oh, that's a new one for me.
Yeah, MCK Yeah. Keown. I have it on my shelf. I just read it again. Right. And so one of the things, it's, if this decision does not get me to my end goal, don't do it. If this action does not get me to my end goal, why am I doing it?
Right.
Either give it to somebody else to do or don't do it at all.
Right.
And it can be and I'm not kidding you. I just did this with my wife the other day, where by showing her my example, and I went through all of my sweatshirts in my closet, all of my pants, all of my shirts, all of my t-shirts, all of my joggers. And I went, oh, I don't wear this. And she goes, well, what happens if you gain weight? I went, trash.
Right.
So I have right. I have like 3 pairs of joggers, 3 pairs of shorts, like 10 t-shirts, because I exercise. So, you know, and just started going down the line. And the next day, I couldn't open my bedroom door because she was cleaning out the walk-in closet of all the shoes and boxes.
Right. If I haven't worn it in a year, right? Mission accomplished.
Exactly. I can open and close my closet doors now. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Life changed forever.
Yeah. Translate that directly into business, and you have, okay, this is my goal for 2022.
Right.
Okay. And then Gino Wickman, Traction or EOS, great models. What are the 3 rocks that lead to that particular goal? And then build from there, right? And then set your goals backwards so that you can actually take those bites.
Yeah, and you can execute.
We eat that elephant one bite at a time.
Right on. Right. So, so you and I are reading the same books, because I do a very similar approach. Although it's usually my wife that's getting me to toss stuff than the other way around. So, in fairness, so the mantra in our family is, if you haven't worn it in a year, it's time to get rid of it, donate it, or toss it if it's ratty. So let me ask you something. You know, you've done a lot, you've accomplished a lot. If you were that 18-year-old kid coming out of high school, what would you do differently if you had to go back and start over?
Yeah, well, so first off, I would still join the military. I'm just going to say that flat out. The military completely changed my life. You've seen my YouTube bio. I grew up in a standard middle-class neighborhood. I, had a regular middle-class family. I'm from a divorced family, so my parents got divorced when I was in high school. The military changed my life. It created this drive and this discipline that I didn't have before the military. I was smart enough in school, but I didn't have the discipline to actually engage. I was actually literally told by my guidance counselor that I would struggle in the United States Air Force, that I shouldn't go in, and that he had a friend working in Philly. I would be able to be a trash man.
Wow.
Yeah. So 5 degrees later,
Did you go back and see that person, that counselor?
I never got the chance to confront him with it. And then later on, listen, hey, it is what it is, right? You've got to constantly reflect. And in one of my reflections, I came up with this conclusion. He was a $35,000 a year frustrated, not NBA basketball player who was sitting in a back room with no windows, talking to punk kids like me who thought, their stuff didn't stink. And, he was taking out his own failures on me. So I look back and I go like, you know what? Feel bad for that guy. He's long since passed, but I am successful.
Yeah, indeed. And, the thing is that I always look at, I've learned to look back, not in frustration, but in gratitude, because those are the people in my life that lit a fire. Right.
Yeah, he definitely motivated me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for telling me I'm not capable of this. Watch, hold my beer. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Hold my beer moment. Yeah.
Right. And so, you have those people that are, they may be a negative force in your life, but they're, there is a positive to take away from that. And it's the, watch me. Right.
Yeah.
So,
now the second part of that is this: while you're in the military and you're moving along, now, for those of you who aren't, you can still do this, right? In the military, you have the option of a VA loan.
Right.
You can take a VA loan and get up to 100% on the purchase of a house, including your closing costs, because they'll transition that and they'll put it on the buyer.
Yep.
So in that case, buy a house, rent it out, rent the rooms out to your buddies. You all collect basic allowance for housing, BAH, have everybody pay you. You don't pay anything. Keep all of your BAH, throw that into a bank account, rinse, cycle, repeat. Go to your next base, do an FHA loan, 3.5% down, go to your next base, do a VA loan, refinance the first one, maybe you refinance the second one, keep going, right? If you're only in for 4 years and wind up with one property in a different location and it's 100% funded, and now you're renting it out and actually making your mortgage or better in that place, come home, use the FHA loan, get yourself a duplex, triplex, or quad and house hack it.
Yep.
Live in one and have the other two pay your mortgage.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
So, Bud, I'm curious, when you're not talking about real estate or helping other people get into this world, what do you like to do? How do you spend your time?
Don't tell my wife. I always talk about
we're going to be men here. We're not going to share this.
Yeah, exactly. So Ed, I'm going to tell you the truth here, because you brought something up earlier and we never kind of circled back around to it, but how I found my first JV partner. This guy's name is Matt Zvitkovich. Matt is a coder for SoFi Bank, right? And he and we've known each other for probably 8-9 years. I had season tickets to the Philadelphia Flyers. Anyway, that's a different story. But I also belong to this club within the Wells Fargo Center. It was called the Cadillac Girl for a very long time, and now it's Adrian's, which whatever. Yeah, it's Philly, right? Anyway, so I did not know, and until I actually started to network with people, I did not realize the level of network ability that I had in that bar.
Oh, yeah.
Standing there one day, having a conversation, bringing a contractor in there to talk business. While we're standing at the bar, Matt walks up to me and taps me on the shoulder and says, "Dude, how come you never asked me to invest?" That was it. The partnership started out as a private money lender, lent on about 10 or 12 deals. At the end of that, he goes, "What can I do to do what you do?" So what are you asking me? He goes, "I want to buy rental properties like you. I want to retire someday." And I went, "Okay, done." So then the funny part was I was like, 300,000. He goes, "Done." I went, "Oh,
should ask
for 5." He goes, "Done again." Right. Yeah. So he and I partnered on a couple of different LLCs. We have a 6-unit together, another multifamily unit, and a bunch of single families together. But that's where I get that, that prenup, right?
Right.
But that's how I met my first JV partner.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing this full circle, I talk about real estate everywhere and pretty much all the time, simply for that reason, right? But what do I do while I'm talking about real estate? I love good whiskey. I love good food. I love to travel. And I love ice hockey.
Excellent.
And fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I got it from a podcast I was listening to years ago, but it's something called the 3-foot rule. And that is that if a human being is consuming oxygen within 3 feet of me, while I'm consuming oxygen, I will somehow, find a way to bring in real estate into the conversation and then talk about my passion. Right. And I can't tell you how many people I've met who I've either, and it's always, "Oh, I would love to do that." Right. But I don't have the time. I don't know where to get the money. I don't know where to get the deals and all that. That's when I tell them, "Hey, I'm a cheap date, come grab a beer or a cup of coffee with me. I'll tell you everything I know." And, and like I said, most of the time I'll buy. So, but the thing is that, you meet, it's amazing the rooms. If you put yourself in the right rooms, proximity is power, as they say. Right. And, if you're putting yourself in the right rooms, and actually making an effort to network, it's amazing the people that you'll meet that, a friend of mine, Chris Morin, was at a coffee shop, a well-known national coffee shop, and, struck up a conversation with the gentleman in front of them. I guess the coffee was taking a little long. And, somehow it turned to real estate. And the gentleman said, "Oh, I wish I had time to do that, but I'm, an executive at this insurance company." Turns out he was the CEO of that insurance company. and Chris struck up a friendship with him, and I at one point he was deploying I want to say $1 million a year into the business so that Chris could go find deals for him. And they were joint venture partners and doing great. And to this day, I'm pretty sure they're still doing great. So it's amazing what you can learn if you just open your mouth and make friends, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I've really enjoyed this conversation. I really have. And so if someone wants to learn more about your property business or your mentorship program, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, two ways, very simply put. Look on Instagram at bud.evans, aka the Property Patriot, at bud.evans on Instagram, or just check out budevans.com.
Excellent. Well, Bud Evans, thank you so much for your time today. You're a wealth of information, and I'm grateful for all the gold nuggets you were dropping over the last 45 minutes. We've been talking a while.
Yeah, man, I could talk about this all day.
Me too, for days. I can talk about it. So, Bud, thanks. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, Ed. Same here.
All right.